Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Dimes, a college basketball podcast. I'm Matthew Brune, and joining me once again is Jamie Shaw. Jamie, I'm wearing my Spurs shirt. I don't know if you saw the Victor
Boy, Wimby,
Wembanyama.
wow.
What a guy.
What a guy.
I need to get my jersey. That's what I'm gonna wear on the next pod.
Man. Yeah, no, Wimby, I mean, that was some stuff that we just never seen before. I don't know if we ever will see it again. It was God, that was sensational.
Yeah, I don't want to spend too long, but watching other games after watching him play, I almost was like, wow, it really puts into perspective. It's kind of like when you watch Steph Curry and you watch other people shoot the basketball. It's just like I've never seen anything like this before, so it kind of skews what I watched in terms of like watching other games right now. But regardless, shout out to Victor Wembanyama when we start this podcast. But it is an SEC preview pod. We'll be going through our top 5 teams in the conference. We'll talk about our coach of the years, player of the years, sleeper picks, and all that good stuff. So if you enjoy it, leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. But here we have this might be the first one that we've done where we have completely different top 5s. Now the 5 teams are the same, but they're in different order. And I think when you look at this, that's exactly what was in my mind when I was doing these rankings was I could put these 5 in any order, and I think you can justify them. Now let's justify them. I have Tennessee 1, and you have Kentucky 1.
Yep.
Which one do we want to start with here?
Let it fly with Tennessee, man, because I mean I like the Tennessee love because they have a very intriguing roster.
Yes, you have them at 2 on your rankings, so I guess by
I had them at 3.
Oh, 3. I already told you I'm going to forget your rankings in this pod. But yes, I have them 1. You have them 3. I understand we've seen, and this is not projecting for them to, let's say, win the national title. This is not projecting for them. I'm not projecting Rick Barnes in March and April. All right. I'm predicting regular season. This Tennessee team, I understand everything they lost from last year. I understand the experience. I understand the rebound, like toughness, all that stuff that they lost from last year. But I think, like you, Jacoby Gillespie comes in and could be the best point guard in the SEC, like immediately. I think the experience, the leadership, the toughness is exactly what Rick Barnes needs at that point guard position, to where Barnes can be a little bit more hands-off in that regard. You let Gillespie run the show. He can obviously fill it up scoring-wise. And then he averaged two steals per game last year, Maryland, too. So we know defensively he can get it done. I think Nate Ament, a top 3, top 4 player in this freshman class, he's kind of what I'm betting on to raise the ceiling of this team. I think we see every year freshmen kind of find their footing in SEC play. He's the one I'm betting on to kind of be like, all right, when we're sitting here in February, we're talking about him as a first-team all-conference player and a guy who can potentially, break into that top 3 of the NBA draft because he's been so good on offense, and the length on defense will help as well. They had Jalen Carey from Vanderbilt, who I loved last year. They added Amari Abram from Louisiana Tech, who I really liked throughout his career when I followed Louisiana Tech and saw them play over the past couple years. And then obviously I haven't even mentioned Felix Okpara. Started 38 games last year, 1.7 blocks in 26 minutes per game. I think they have a nucleus and they have enough of a defensive presence to where you add Gillespie, you add Ament, and you add Abram, and I think there's more than enough scoring here. And Rick Barnes is an amazing coach, an incredible coach in the regular season to where they're going to win enough games in an SEC that, honestly, like, we might be looking at, I know 15-3 last year for Auburn won the conference. I'm not sure a team reaches 15-3 this year. Like 14-4 probably wins it. 13-5, like, we'll be in conversation. I think this is going to be a really muddled top group there. So give me Tennessee as my number 1.
Yeah, no, I don't hate this with Tennessee. I mean, Tennessee is in the conversation. I just have some questions with them typically when it comes to the depth aspect of it. But you look at it, Rick Barnes has finished in the top 5. His Tennessee teams have finished in the top 5 in the final AP poll 3 of the last 4 years. You look at their roster and you kind of see them. You kind of see the vision. Last year, Florida, who won the national championship, had a 4 guards with a 3 rotation and then a depth of bigs. So they played their guards a lot, and they rotated their bigs in and out to keep them fresh. Looking at this Tennessee roster, You see the four guards when it comes to Nate Mint, Jacoby Gillespie, Amari Abram, and then Bishop Boswell.
Mm-hmm.
And then you see the depth of bigs that you have coming in with Jalen Carey, Felix Okpara, Cade Phillips, JP Estrella, and Dwayne Brown. So you kind of see the vision as to what they were in putting this together. I think to your point, with Nate Mint and Jacoby Gillespie, I think they're going to have two of the five best players in the SEC on their roster. And it just so happens that those two will have the ball in their hands the majority of the time. So when your two best players, who are two of the best players in the league, are the ones on ball making decisions, that's a favorable position to be in as a coach.
Yeah.
They'll have the physicality, they'll have the experience, they'll have the defense up front, and they'll be able to rotate them in to keep them fresh, as you mentioned as well. Nate Mint on ball, I think it will continue to impress people. His ability to not only to knock down shots, but also to create advantages off the bounce, playing in the pick and roll, being able to line up in different areas on the floor, whether it be on ball as the primary, mid post to create advantages or pulling gravity in the corner. There's a lot of stuff you can do with him. Jacoby Gillespie, speed end to end, one of the top in the league. He finishes well at the rim, and he can also shoot the ball as well. Being able to get what they can out of Bishop Boswell off the bench defensively, and then Amari Abram at the two, I think will be the biggest X factor of what this Tennessee team is. With that being said, to your point, I think it's a very intriguing Tennessee team, and I think they built a roster that they wanted to build in the mold kind of they wanted to build it. And there's some intriguing talent within that roster build that could play favorably for Rick Barnes here.
All right, Kentucky, your number one team in the SEC. Let's talk about it. What do you love about Mark Pope's team?
The depth. I feel like they're too deep at every position all the way across the board. They can give you multiple looks, multiple feel that it has. I'm super intrigued when Jaden Quaintance come back, what it looks like with Otega Owe, Jaden Quaintance, and Mo Diabate on the floor together. The defensive ability that those three will be able to bring in the front court might be unmatched across the entire country. They're going to have shooting. Shooting is going to be the interesting factor as to who's going to be able to step up there. Will Jasper Johnson be ready to roll? Denzel Aberdeen coming in, Colin Chandler, Cam Williams. Who's going to be the players that can stretch the floor and create the spacing that Mark Pope likes to play with? The biggest X factor for this team is going to be Pittsburgh transfer Jalen Lowe. Mm-hmm. 2 years ago as a freshman, he was awesome beside Bub Carrington. Last year when he was the featured piece for Pittsburgh, his efficiency numbers kind of dipped a little bit while his counting stats stayed similar, if not even rose. The efficiency dipped. He's going to get him somewhere in the middle there, playing efficiently while still being a threat to create advantages with the ball in his hands. But they have depth all the way across the floor here. Like I said, shooting is going to be a big question. However, even within that shooting, they have multiple guys who can step in and take that. Even Trent Noah as well, coming in, the 3-4 type position. They have depth up front. Malachi Moreno, the McDonald's All-American freshman, coming in. Also, Brandon Garrison, former McDonald's All-American, who was on the team last year as well. Jaden Quaintance, the lottery guy, the guy that's projected lottery. The questions of him coming back, what he looks like coming off of a leg injury, and then how do the new players mesh? What does it look like when they get their best 5 players on the floor? How do they mesh together? I think is the biggest question. But this team is put together in a very interesting manner. I was talking to somebody, a scout, about this the other day. Looking at it, they don't need their guys to hit their top end ceilings because they have so much depth and so many different looks that they can bring. So if a guy isn't necessarily outside of Jalen Lowe is going to have to be good. Yep. Outside of him, if the guys they bring in don't individually hit their top end ceiling, it's fine because there's other players there that they can mix and match in to be able to get different looks, to be able to get different feel, to be able to get different type of spacing and different type of opportunities within the flow of the offense. I think the depth of this team is the greatest piece. I believe in Mark Pope as a coach and the structure that he's going to be able to put on the floor. And I believe in the different looks that this team's going to be able to bring to you, whether playing super big, super small, super switchable, playing up tempo, playing space in the half court, however they want to be able to play, however they want to adjust and be able to get into. I think they have the talent on the team to be able to do that. And for that reason, I have them. I have the least amount of questions with them going into the season. And because of that, I have them at number 1.
It feels like the most balanced roster on paper. And I think if Otega Owe, I like your point about Jalen Lowe. Like he is kind of the X factor to me. He kind of swings this thing because I
Mhm.
saw him at Pitt last year, and you see the upside, but then it was really inefficient at times. But this will be a much better team. Otega Owe, 16 points per game last year, 5 boards. I I'm curious to see if he takes not a huge step forward, but if he can just take another step in his game, continue to be efficient. We know how good he is when he gets to the basket. So he'll be that senior leader for them. I don't have too much to add. Jaden Quaintance is going to be extremely fun to watch on this team. They have a lot of athleticism now, like the wing spots. I am curious to see how they shoot, like you said, but Mark Pope and shooting has never been a problem. So I think I have, what do I have Kentucky? I have Kentucky at 4, but like you said, I think in terms of like overall balance and depth, there's reason to think Kentucky can be number 1 in this conference.
And I really, really want to iterate Owe, Diabate, and Quaintance on the floor together defensively
Mm-hmm.
is I mean that's got to be terrifying for opposing teams in the front court. What those three can clean up on the back end of a defense is pretty intriguing.
Yeah. All right, number 2, I have Florida, and you can tell me where you have them because I think it was 4, 5,
Four,
4. I
yeah,
have
Florida number 4.
Florida 4 or 2. You have them 4. Todd Golden's team off of a national championship run. Obviously, everyone's going to talk about the returning front court: Alex Condon, Thomas Hall, and Ruben Chinalu. You have those 3 back, but you have to replace Walter Clayton. Obviously, in the backcourt, you have a new look there with Boogie Flan, Xavion Lee. You have AJ Brown in the mix as well. This team, to me, I think the front court is going to just win a lot of games. And that's the case in non-conference. That's going to be the case in the SEC. We saw it last year where they were having to go up against the Janai Brooms, where they were having to face the physicality of the SEC continuously, and they won. Like they went 14-4. They returned that front court. I think at the end of the day, that when you have that trio, that size, that versatility, and that toughness in the front court, it overwhelms teams. And I think Golden knows that. I mean, obviously, when he got a 7'9" player on his team, he understands how important height is here. But it's more than that. It's the rebounding, it's the defense, it's the now veteran presence that you have with that group to where you're like, okay, there's not a question of, is Condon, is Hall, are they ready? Like all these guys are now upperclassmen. I think they're just going to be too big and too tough on a night in, night out basis to where some teams are going to rely on making threes. I think Florida has that with like Xavier Lee and Fland being players, but ultimately they're just going to win on the inside. And I think there's been debate of like, is Thomas Hall their best player? Is Alex Condon their best player? I think they're just too big, and that's why I have them second in the conference. It's very, very simplistic from a basketball perspective, but when you watch them last year, I mean, that's what they were, and they bullied teams at times. And so, yes, it hurts not having Walter Clayton because you look at their SEC or you look at their NCAA tournament run, like they could have lost to UConn, they could have lost to Texas Tech, but they didn't. And Walter Clayton was a big reason for that. I think they did enough to replace him in the backcourt, but with the step forward I anticipate from those 3 bigs, I have them number 2 here.
For me with Florida, I have questions. They are my number 4 team in the league, top 25 team, solidified, all that type of stuff going into the season. They returned the 4 bigs, like you said, Chinyelu, Alex Condon, Micah Hangleton, and then Thomas Howell. I love the defensive versatility that those guys bring. That they're able to match physicality along with switchability with those 4. They were kind of in a platoon system this past year, 2 on, 2 off, 2 on, 2 off, being able to consistently create advantages. I think Chinyelu is rebounder around the rim, physical presence, shot blocker. Hangleton can really move his feet for a guy who's 7'1". Dad used to be in the league as well. And he has touch. Alex Condon, and then Thomas Howell as well, who was able to create advantages against 4s and 5s. My big question is they lost 3 pros in the backcourt. When you come to Elijah Martin, Will Richard, and Walter Clayton, and then their 4th guy, Denzel Aberdeen, also transferred off to Kentucky. They replaced those three pros with Boogie Fland, Xavier Lee, and A.J. Brown. There's talk about Thomas Howell playing the 3, and that'll be interesting to see. My interest in that comes in. He was athletic against 4s and 5s when he was able to come in 20 minutes or so a game and play with his hair like his hair was on fire. How athletic is he against 3s in the SEC? What does that look like? What does the lateral ability look like defensively? And how does he create advantages offensively against 3s in the SEC? I just need to see it. I'm not saying he can't do it. I just want to see what that looks like. And then you have Xavier Lee, who's up transferring from the Ivy League. An obvious uptick in the athleticism in the league, an obvious uptick in the size and talent in the league as well. Curious to see what that looks like also. Xavier's a great player. He's had an awesome career. And you have Boogie Fland, coming in. So, Klavskar had a nice backup player at the lead guard position. You have A.J. Brown coming in, who's been good at Ohio. But my question with this Florida team comes with the backcourt. They were those 3 guys for them last year were so integral in being able to make plays, being able to keep them in games. And even in the tournament, as you mentioned, Walter Clayton taking over down the stretch and finishing games. Draft picks already in rotations as rookies in the NBA. How do Boogie Fland, Xavier Lee, A.J. Brown, Klavskar, Thomas Howell, whomever it is, how they get those 3 positions together? What does that look like? And I have more questions than answers with that right now. Not saying that they don't have the upside potential to be able to be another national championship contender. I just need a couple of weeks to be able to see kind of what it looks like, a couple of games to see what it looks like, what the rotations look like, and how those rotations are responding to the minutes, how they're responding to creating advantages on both ends of the floor, and kind of what that looks like. So that's why I have Florida number 4 for me, understanding the talent, understanding what they return, and like you said, the physicality they bring and the different looks you can bring up front, while also realizing the questions that still had in the backcourt.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, the top 5 could all be like between 13-5 and 12-6, and like in that mix. So it's all going to be very competitive.
I mean, heck, even getting down 6 through 10 as well. I mean, you add these other teams to the mix as well. I mean, last year the SEC had top end, like there were really good teams at the top end, but there was depth too. This year there's depth with parity. So the preseason number 1 team could still be an NCAA tournament team and have a great year, make the Sweet 16 and finish 9th in the league. It's just kind of where the SEC is right now when it comes to the parity.
All right, you have Alabama number 2, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Alabama 2 for you. I have them 5. Talk to me about the Tide.
I like the depth. I like the coach. I like the personnel. bringing back Houston Millett and Latrell Reitzel. You got the 3-point shooting. I think Taylor Bowen coming in from Florida State, 6'10". He's going to be power forward. The 2-way ability that he's going to bring, I think he's going to take a step that we didn't necessarily see with him when he was at Florida State. Keaton Bristow, Aiden Sherrill, Noah Williamson, toggling in between the 4 and 5 there, playing with Bull Bowen. I think that 2 of those guys will be good. Then you have LeBaron Philon and Aiden Holloway.
Mm-hmm.
Amari Allen as well, the freshman. So there's a lot of pieces here. Now you're going to have some central stalwarts. I think those 2 stalwarts are going to be LeBaron Philon at the point and Taylor Bowen at the 5 or at the 4. And then I think the other pieces between Houston Millett, Latrell Reitzel, Aiden Holloway at the guard positions, and then the 3 bigs with I guess Amari Allen going also in the guard positions, and then the bigs with Noah Williamson and Aiden Sherrill and Keaton Bristow. I think you'll be able to figure out the pieces around them. You can be able to have different looks. Aiden Sherrill's able to shoot the ball a little bit, 7 foot tall. Noah Williamson has some offensive skill as well with positional size, able to play in different spots. And Bristow's an energy guy at 6'10", able to move his feet on defense and offensive rebound and be a threat around the basket. I think you'll be able to find different looks with that. Aiden Holloway comes back as a shooter. He's a guy that can bring a spark in offensively, especially on the team. And then, you have the experience and the shooting ability, both of Millett and Reitzel. So I think this Nate Oates team is intriguing. I think it's multiple. in the looks that they're able to give. I think they have two really good players that they can kind of be the stalwarts of the team with Bo Bowen and LeBaron Philon. And then the multiple pieces you have, the multiple looks that you can have around those guys playing advantages, playing different styles, getting up tempo, keeping the spacing, and getting defensive stops as well. I think this Alabama team is very intriguing in that way. And it would not surprise me to see them make a run at the number one spot. It wouldn't surprise me to see them,
Yeah.
make a run this year as well as things come together. But for that reason, number 2 team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, Philon, if he reaches his potential this year, obviously coming back, not going to the NBA draft, if he reaches his potential this year, I think he's the cog that obviously Holloway and Wrightsell and these guys can play off of, because Holloway and Wrightsell are very much complementary players. Obviously, they both scored like 11 per game last year. We know they can fill it up. But if you have Philon running the show the way we think he can, then this is definitely a team that can make some noise in the SEC. And we know that offensively, you can chalk it up. Boom, they're at the very least going to be a top 10 offense in the country, if not top 5. Once again. So I believe in Nate Oates as well. I like the pick. Not mad at that at all. All right. I have Arkansas number 3, and you have Arkansas number 3?
5.
Close. All right. Arkansas 3 for me. Can Coach Calipari do it? It's been a while since we've seen him in the spotlight in terms of regular season. Obviously, they made the Sweet 16 last year. It was an interesting team last year that somehow put it together for an NCAA tournament berth and NCAA tournament run. This year is going to be interesting because it's kind of old school Calipari, where they're going to need the freshmen to step up. They're going to need Darius Acuff. They're going to need Malik Thomas to step up. I remember when Trayvon Brazile was a freshman and was, an underclassman, and everyone was talking about him in terms of, man, this guy could be a pro. And then he had that really bad injury to where it sapped a little bit of his athleticism. But I still think you have him coming back. You have Carter Knox obviously coming back. You have DJ Wagner coming back. I just think there's enough talent here, and I think Calipari going to this season has the scoring and the guard punch that he needs to figure it out and to win some games in the SEC this year. I still believe in the front court. They added Malik Ewan from Florida State, who averaged 14 and 8 last year at center. So you have some size. I just think from the guard perspective, and you add into what Knox and Brazile have as like wing/forwards, I think there's enough talent here for Arkansas to make a run and to be in the top group of the SEC. Ultimately, Cal's going to have to coach and going to have to coach really well. This is a league where, as he knows at Kentucky, when like the talent wasn't in his favor, it was like, all right, what can you do? I think he has the talent to be with the Florida team I talked about, with Alabama, but now you're going head to head with Golden, with Oates, with all these guys. So I do think this is a prove it year for Coach Cal. Not saying he has to prove anything, but in terms of, all right, you have now the talent, you have the pieces you want at Arkansas. I think this should be a top 5 team in the SEC. I have them pick 3rd. We'll see if they can do it.
So for me with this Arkansas team, I really like how this roster is constructed. I feel like you go into this season for the most part, and you have very clearly defined roles and very clearly defined lanes of each player with expectations. You come into the front court, talking with NBA scouts that have been in the watch them and all that. Malik Ewan has really impressed. Mm-hmm. Coming out of Florida State, he's had a kind of circuitous adventure to get to Arkansas here. Coming out of Florida State there, I think he was 14 and 7 this past season. Mm-hmm. There is a step to take there, but there's also a role to be in there, the starting 5-man at Arkansas. But then you put him beside the Trayvon Brazile, who's just oozing with upside and intrigue, with his athletic fluidity, his ability to move and slide his feet, his touch, able to stretch it out a little bit. Whereas Malik Ewan's more of a 10 feet in kind of guy, 15 feet in kind of guy. You can put Trayvon Brazile beside him, and he can slide and move and maybe stretch the floor, and you can do some intriguing things there. And they're backed up by Nick Pringle, who started in the Final Four at Alabama, played at South Carolina. He's got an extra year guy. He's been there. So you have the big physicality of him coming off the bench as well. Then at the wing position, you have Carter Knox and Billy Richmond. Very, very much expecting both of those guys to take a jump. I think Carter Knox could really shine into possibly making himself a decent amount of money this year, looking at the NBA draft type situation. He's going to have the eyes on him for sure when it comes to the step he's able to take. Former McDonald's All-American, a guy, positional size and strength and athleticism. He attacks the basket hard in transition, and he can get out in the passing lanes and be aggressive as well. Then you have Billy Richmond coming off the bench, kind of the glue guy, able to guard multiple spots on the floor up and down a lineup with his length and instincts, and he can have the ball in hand and make some plays as well. And then you have the guards. This is where kind of my question comes with this team. What does that rotation look like? You have three guys with Darius Acuff, Malik Thomas, DJ Wagner, all three McDonald's All-Americans, but three guys who are at their best, or at least at this point in their career, with the ball in their hand. What does that look like, when the ball's not in their hands? Obviously, you have DJ Wagner coming back. He will most likely be the quote-unquote point guard on the team, bringing in Darius Acuff beside him, who's able to create advantages like nobody else offensively and get shots and get clean looks. And then you have Malik Thomas, just pure electricity. How do those three coexist? What do those rotations look like? How comfortable are they within their roles on the team is the question I have. When it comes to top end talent, I think this Arkansas team is at the top, toward the top of the league. I mean, I have them number 5 right now. That's to do with the questions at the backcourt. But Cal has had talent before. Cal has had ball in hand guys before play off ball. He even had a platoon system of pros, guys, coming off the bench and buying into the team concept. What does that look like here at Arkansas? I like the roster. I like how the roster was put together. I like the talent on the roster, and I like their ability to go out there and possibly surprise, play above their heads, and have a really good year. And Cal's in the Hall of Fame. I think Cal also is coming in this year with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, wanting to remind people, I am who I am. So I can see this Arkansas team being very good. For right now, I have them 5th because of the questions that I have with their backcourt rotation. But I have no questions with the talent on the roster.
Yeah. All right. There's our top 5. Let's move on to our sleeper picks here. Who do you have? I'll let you go first.
For me, it's Vanderbilt. Really like kind of what they did with their roster. Mark Byington comes in year 2 from James Madison. He plays an incredibly up-tempo, spaced-out system. And in year 1 at Vanderbilt, he took him to the NCAA tournament. Year 2, he returns a couple. He returns a couple of guys, Devin McLaughlin and Tyler Nickel. McLaughlin, a big physical force in the paint, kind of their 6'8" big man. Rebounds the basketball, plays close to the basket. Tyler Nickel, more stretch it out, 4-man, plays up tempo and tough as well. Looking for a big step from Tyler Tanner. I'm very intrigued with him. His point of attack defense is, one of the better defensive players at the point of attack in the entire league. Looking for a step for him coming forward this year. They bring in a slew of players like Frankie Collins. They bring in Tyler Harris. They bring in Jalen Washington. They bring in Duke Miles. Lots of depth there. Lots of different looks that you're able to bring. Obviously, Jalen Washington being in the 6'9" range, but he can step out and shoot the basketball. Devin McLaughlin is going to be kind of more of their around the basket physical player. But you have positional size up and down the lineup. Tyler Harris, 6'7", 6'8", can shoot the basketball. Frankie Collins has been in the league, has been in college basketball for a while. Duke Miles has been in college basketball for a while as well. They have the experience and the ability to play up tempo and make decisions with the ball in their hand. I just really like kind of the makeup of this Vanderbilt team. I really like what Mark Byington was able to do in year 1. Will they catch people by surprise in year 2 with that up-tempo pace that they play? To be determined. But they have a roster that fits what he does, and I think he's got people believing. I think he's got the team. I think he's got a locker room full of guys that believe they are a tournament team. For that, I think this Vanderbilt team is very sneaky.
Yeah, there's a lot of different teams that I could take as my sleeper pick. I mean, we go down the whole Ole Miss, Missouri, I mean, even Texas A&M, go through like the whole middle of this SEC as we see it. Um, Auburn would not be a sleeper team to me. I know we don't have them on this pod, but I still think there's enough talent there. I have them sixth in my rankings, so that's not a sleeper to me. I'll go down. I'm going to go with Mississippi State, a team that I think I'm a little higher on than the consensus. I have them eighth in my preseason rankings. I believe in Chris Jans as a coach. I think he's like legitimately a good coach that gets the most out of his teams year over year. The problem is figuring out how to play and getting their pieces right around Josh Hubbard. We know what Josh Hubbard is. We know the scoring ability. We know the shooting. We know offensively you can play around him. Last year they were top 25 in the country in offensive efficiency. So like with Hubbard, you set a really high floor for what this team is as an offense. It's figuring out what goes around him, right? And they added Jaden Epps from Georgetown, 13 points per game, 35% from three. They added a core from Stanford in 2024, averaged 16 a game. Quincy Ballard from Wichita State, 10 and 9 with 2 blocks. So I think that helps a lot in their front court. And then Amir Ali from Arizona State, I expect to have a big role as well. So I think they have the pieces this year around Josh Hubbard to where this roster makes a lot more sense. In years past, I think they've had obviously very good teams that made the NCAA tournament, but this could be a year where I see them getting potentially to 500, if not above 500. Last year they went 8-10 in conference. I could see 10-8 this year, and I think they're in position to where they make the tournament and they could potentially win a game this time around. So give me Mississippi State, Josh Hubbard, Chris Jans. I believe in them. I believe that they're going to be really good. It's crazy because Hubbard was so good as a freshman that he's only a junior now. Like in my head, I'm like, he's got to be like a senior. No, he's still only a junior. So Mississippi State's my sleeper team.
I'm
All
with
right.
you on Jans, man. Always trust Jans. They lost
Yes,
they lost a lot this past season, but they've lost a
they did.
lot previous seasons, and
Yeah.
he keeps getting to the tournament.
Yeah. All right. Freshman of the year. Who's your pick?
Nate Ament,
Yeah.
Tennessee. I think he is going to just come in and have a big role. Not only that, I think he's going to come in and surprise. I think he's, ball in hand, be able to create advantages consistently. I think he's only going to get better. He comes in, he's already put on 19 pounds, incredibly skilled, listed at 6'10". He's going to continue to get stronger. As he continues to get stronger, he's going to learn his balance spots. He's going to be able to get to his spots on the floor. And I'm really intrigued to see what Rick Barnes does with him. It's been a while since he's had, even going back to Texas, since he's had a player who's able to be multiple like this. He's able to use Nate Ament to create advantages at every level of the floor, whether it be posting up smaller players, taking bigger players out to the perimeter, using him as an initiator, getting him in clear outs on the mid post, on the block. I just think that you're going to see a very multiple game when it comes to Nate Ament, how he's used this season. And I think he's one of those freshmen, too, that I don't think he's going to hit a wall. I think what you're going to see from him is him continuing to get better. With that will be with efficiency. With that will be with both Rick Barnes learning Nate Ament and how to use him and utilize him and deploy him in different situations, but also Nate Ament learning himself in the college game and getting his strength together and all that type of stuff as well. It would not surprise me to see Ament possibly even make a run at the SEC Player of the Year as well.
Yeah.
He's not my preseason pick, but he's the talented guy. He's the top 5 NBA draft pick, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that he's in one of those unique positions as to where he's going to have a high profile team, be a high profile player, and continue to get better throughout the year. With that being said, too, Sunday, Tennessee versus Duke exhibition game is going to be very intriguing to watch.
Yes, it will be. I don't have too much to add. Nate Ament's also my pick for freshman year. Real quick, second, like if you had to pick somebody else, would it be Acuff, one of the Arkansas players potentially? Malik Thomas, Landon Jemison for Alabama. I'm just going through kind of the list of other ones. Jacob Wilkins for Georgia. I don't know if there's another one that stands out to you in terms of a clear number 2.
Yeah, so I think Acuff's going to be in position to be able to be there. I think a couple sleeper guys as well to look at. It depends on the role of Malachi Moreno at Kentucky.
Yes.
If he's able to kind of beat out Brandon Garrison and kind of see what it looks like, depending on their rotations. If they go Diabate at the 4 and Quaintance at the 5 when he gets healthy, or if they go big
Yeah.
with Quaintance at the 4 and then either Garrison or Malachi Moreno. If Malachi Moreno is able to carve out that spot, I think he's intriguing. I don't quite know if he's going to have the usage to get there. And Amari Allen for Alabama, I think, is kind of a sleeper pick to get there as well, kind of seeing what he comes up with. But I think Darius Acuff is the easy. He's positioned, in my opinion, to kind of get those reps and those minutes and put up those counting stats to be able to challenge.
I agree. All right, Coach of the Year. I had Tennessee number 1. I'm going Rick Barnes. I think they're going to get it done. I just think defensively they're going to be really good again. And then they, like we talked about, they have enough offensively here to where they win the conference. They're number 1. Obviously in a conference full of Hall of Fame coaches and full of great coaches. There's a lot of ways you can go, but I'm going to go Rick Barnes.
I was just about to say that in a league filled with Hall of Fame coaches, it's like you look at it, like, oh, that's the easy pick. Then you look at the next team, you're like, oh. And you look at the next team, you're like, oh. And you look at the next team, you're like, so SEC is just filled with great coaches. For me, I have Kentucky finishing number 1. Mark Pope, my coach of the year. Love what he did in the offseason. Love how he put this roster together. And I think he's going to be able to figure out the rotations and be able to play advantages over the course of the year to, get this Kentucky team really clicking.
Yeah. Player of the Year. This one was tough. This was probably the toughest Player of the Year decision of any of the conferences we've done, just because there's there's not that one returning player you're like, oh, that guy is gonna put up 18 and whatever. Like, I mean, there's Otega always one from Kentucky. Josh Hubbard, like I talked about. I like Mark Mitchell at Missouri. There's all these players that I like. But I'm gonna go with. And I mean, I think the Florida players, all kind of mix in together. So I can go down the list of all these guys. I'm going with Tahad Pettiford because I think this is like a blow up year for him. And I think this Auburn team needs him to average like 18 a game. I just think they're going to need him to shoot, to score, to create, facilitate. I like, Keshawn Hall, and I like, Keyshawn Murphy and all these guys. Abdul Bashir, obviously coming from JUCO ranks, very good player. Kevin Overton coming from Texas Tech, cool. Ultimately, we don't have Auburn, and I'll speak for myself. I don't have Auburn in the top 5 because the pieces around Pettiford, I'm not 100% sure how they work, but I know Pettiford and what he does with the ball in his hands. And I think for Stephen Pearl to simplify this game, to let Auburn reach its potential and its ceiling this year, it is going to be playing through Tahad Pettiford early, often, and all the time. So give me Tahad Pettiford. I mean, he averaged 11.6 points last year in 23 minutes. And I understand the role was for him to come in and just be a flamethrower and just be aggressive. But I don't see why that role really changes too much with this team. I think the minutes are going to go up to 30, 32 per game. The points, the usage are going to be just as high. And so I see him averaging 17, 18 per game. And if Auburn, and this is with my projected of Auburn coming in like 6th in the conference, so I could see someone being like, well, they're 6th, he's not going to win it, maybe. But if statistically he has that profile and it's somehow they finish top 5 in the conference, I have them 6th, so it's not even reaching at this point. They finish top 5 in the conference, I think Pettiford could very well do it here in a conference where someone could surprise us. But ultimately, I think there's like 10 players here you can make a pitch for. And so I'm going to stick with Pettiford just because I think he scores a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think this league, when you look at the teams finish, 1 through 9 can go any which way. Just like with the Player of the Year award, I think it's the exact same. The parity at the top here is just unreal. For me, LeBaron Philon is the preseason Player of the Year. He comes back. Last year, he was sharing the backcourt with Mark Sears, and he was able to carve out his time and his minutes. He was also able to watch Mark Spears and kind of see how he operated and all that. I think now we're going to see LeBaron Philon take over the Mark Spears minutes that are gone and be able to put his own spin on what it is that, Mark Spears was able to do.
Yeah.
Philon came back to Alabama at the very last second after testing the NBA draft waters. He's got that freshman and sophomore year jump, long, able to get in the passing lanes. He can touch the paint off the bounce. He's a crafty ball handler. And if he elevates the jump shot just a little bit, the threat is there for a guy. He's going to have the opportunity, ball in hand. Nate Oates' system is very advantageous for point guards to be able to put up numbers, or actually initiators, ball in hand guys to put up numbers. LeBaron Filon is able to toggle in between the 1 and the 2. He's able to play off ball as well as on the ball as well. Touch the paint, collapse the defense, make a read, get all that together. He can get the passing lanes and stuff too. I think we're going to see a year 1 to year 2 step from LeBaron Filon with this Alabama team that I have predicted to finish number 2. And I think for them to do that, LeBaron Filon is going to have to be very good. I think with LeBaron Filon, with the talent level that he has on this team within this system, with Alabama being good, I think LeBaron Filon is my preseason SEC Player of the Year.
Yeah, I love that pick. That's probably my number 2 in terms of what I'm thinking. We both have sophomore guards expected to take off, and both guards that could have gone pro come back. The SEC is better for it. So very exciting. There's the SEC. Obviously, there's 16 teams here, so couldn't cover all of them. But Texas is going to be fun with Sean Miller, Texas A&M with Bucky McMillan. My LSU boys over here, I think, LSU will finish above 15th where they're predicted in the conference. How much higher, we'll see. But I think DJ Thomas for them is a real point guard. And yeah, I think that covers most of it. Oklahoma's got a few. Talk about an interesting team. Oklahoma with Porter Moser over there. Xavier Brown, Darian Reed, and Nigel Pack. That's a fun team.
Yeah, some interesting teams too. Georgia's going to be very interesting. Sumto Cyril, what he looks like. Jeremiah Wilkinson coming back home. You got South Carolina with an entirely revamped roster. They're going to play NC State this weekend. It'd be interesting to see kind of what they look like. There are no off nights right now in the SEC, and when it's like that, when you have 1 through 16 competing, it'll be interesting to see how things finish up.
Yeah, I think this is a league that gets at least. I know last year they got 13 NCAA tournament berths. I can't predict them to get that, but I think they get at least 11 here. I think this is a legitimately like 11 to 12 team bid league here. So we'll see who makes it. But yeah, great league here. We have the Big Ten preview coming up next week, and then it's damn near the season. So thank you all for joining us. Leave us a like, comment, share, subscribe if you haven't already. Check out the other conference previews and our mid-major preview on the channel as well. And we will be back next week. Talk to y'all then.